are up and running, and it is a beautiful day in Chicago, very windy, and we had quite a bit of storm activity last night, spring rains and thunder bumpers, which is a lovely thing. How are you this morning, Barrett?
I am doing well, doing well. Yeah, definitely enjoying the sunshine. Flowers are popping outside. Hyacinths and crocuses, and although the crocuses are almost all croaked by now, so
Yes, well, you jumped on that when I had one of those little humorous vignettes to share about crocuses, but we've already moved past it here. It's really like one of those people who's standing out in the street hailing a cab and just watching the cabs go right by them. It's like, damn.
the next person, hey, over here.
Yeah. And in Chicago, that's not an unusual situation at all.
I have a great story about my friend Rich. Most of my family's from up in Wisconsin, and he was visiting down here, and we were driving down pretty busy street around, going to listen to some music, some jazz music, or some blues maybe, and all these people are waving for a cab, and Rich is waving back at them. Hey, how's it going? So every time I see him, he says, "Say hi to my friends in Chicago."
Well, knowing the nature of Chicagoans, he's very lucky that they didn't follow you and, tar and feather him. So,
oh man,
because we do have that dark side.
That's true.
Chicago is known for.
Well, I guess the tar would be the dark side, the feathers would be the light side. So
yes, and that's keeping in that continuity range for duality in this realm, and that really is the key point, is that we are in a dualistic world, and we just have to figure out how to balance all those opposing elements.
it's true, and that leads us into our topic for today, which is section 24 of the manual, is reincarnation so? And it really is all about the unreality of duality, which means that in this context, basically ask the question, is reincarnation so? And as we'll see, he's kind of basically like, well, not really, because nothing here is real. So what he's saying is that because there is no duality, the opposite of life is not real. And what is the opposite of life? Death. Now, in our experience, we think that death is real. It seems very natural here in the world. We even have terms like the circle of life, which includes death. So death is an inevitable thing here. And it's it's really not the truth. And that's the message that we're getting. That's what we're starting to see, is that sure, in our experience, maybe we believe in reincarnation or even experienced other lifetimes. Obviously, I do this for a living, so I help a lot of people through issues around other lifetimes. But the bigger point here is that none of that means anything. None of it adds up to anything. It's not a hill of beans. So the good news about that is that what you really are is beyond death. What you really are is not born, it does not die, it never ends, but it also has never begun, because it just is. And that's our deepest truth. And that's what we're always working towards coming into awareness of. And that's what we hopefully are helping, well, definitely ourselves, and maybe a few of you out there in YouTubeville, to get a little deeper sense of. It's really the only goal worth having. And that's why Chris and I are often kind of singular focus on this one thing. We talk, how many talks have we had? Over 60, and we're always talking about the same thing, because we do need to keep our eye on the ball. We need to keep moving towards that awareness that our truth doesn't have boundaries. And that's what we want.
Exactly. And in this realm, one of the things that I find interesting is that we all create stories about who we are. And that that is what causes us to fall out of our truth, our true identity, which is that we are God in expression. We are eternally perfect and living and moving and having our being in God itself. So, following that line of thought, in your lifetime that you're experiencing right now is a story that you actually scripted at the beginning of all this, believe it or not, and you're acting it out in this form of a memory on the timeline. But that really isn't who you are. And so a lot of times we need, in order to support our story, we need to shore it up with, well, in the last lifetime I murdered this guy, so in this lifetime he's going to murder me. And in the next lifetime we'll sit down and have a glass of, or a cup of coffee together and work out these issues that we have. So it ends up becoming that series, or those layers of fantasy, overlaying fantasy. And in some ways it helps us to be able to comprehend the silliness that we see in our surroundings. And this being a political year, it is an incredibly insane set of circumstances we created here. But ultimately, it is a step in that direction of getting away from believing that any of this is real. And then as we begin to step more and more in the direction of living in the present, we have less and less need for creating stories about a past life or expectations about a future life.
Mm-hmm. And in all the healing work that I do, when I'm working with people around past lives, it's all about healing the present, as you're saying, because in the deepest truth, there really is no past and there is no future. Time is just an illusion that we have bought into, and it really reinforces that idea of separation. So what does the past say? That something has happened, but it's not here now. And what does the future say? That something is going to happen, but it also is not here. That is the idea that there's something that is separate from this moment. And that is really the lie that we are working on undoing. It's the lie that we've told to ourselves and we have bought into, and we continue to reinforce with our belief in it. So it's a very deeply held belief. And if you look at 3 of the letters in the word belief, that is lie, L-I-E. And so what we need to do is we need to keep questioning. We need to keep questioning, do I really want to believe this? Do I really want to keep believing this? Do I want to start disinvesting in this old idea? And we can start to use all of the things that happen to us in our daily life, in another lifetime, whatever it is that we're looking at, and we can see I'm getting less and less invested in this story. And that's really a path to this sense of peace. So we have to use these dualistic stories and beliefs and ideas to start to realize that they are not the truth. And that's the path of forgiveness that we're all working on here.
Absolutely. One of the things I find kind of interesting in this section, down in the 5th paragraph, it says, does this mean the teacher of God should not believe in reincarnation himself or discuss it with others who do? The answer is certainly no. If he does believe in reincarnation, it would be a mistake for him to renounce the belief unless his internal teacher, that's our connection to the Holy Spirit, so advised. And this is most unlikely. He might be advised that he is misusing the belief in some way that is detrimental to his pupil's advance or his own. Reinterpretation would then be recommended because it is necessary. So, that's the beauty of the way the Course is put together, is that it doesn't approach us on that level of saying, okay, everything you believe, you've got to throw out the window, and you've got to, completely demolish your the world that you have created for yourself. I mean, the whole point of the Course in Miracles is getting us to recognize there's probably a better way than the one we're currently experiencing. And so what we have to do is be willing to let go of the old ideas at the appropriate moment in time. So it doesn't say, you know, don't believe in this or don't believe in that. It does say that to put a lot of emphasis on dialoguing about it, or on conducting your life by a set of variables that you have or that the reincarnation community has created, really is not going to serve you well. So it's just, you know, looking at it, appreciating it, but not getting so entrenched in it that you end up limiting yourself to a this is or it is not set of circumstances.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, if you look at people who are kind of into reincarnation, you'll sometimes see people who are kind of enamored with a famous lifetime that they've lived. You know, we've all kind of heard the generic idea that, you know, maybe someone was Cleopatra in the past, some other famous person in the past, and there is sort of a desire to attach or fixate onto that. And it sort of has the opposite purpose of our spiritual path, which is to, it strengthens our identity as a self, as an individual. And ultimately what we're doing bit by bit is we're de-identifying with it. We are disidentifying with these things, softening our attachment to the individual self, and ultimately relinquishing it entirely, which is our way to come into our peace, into our love, into our truth. So it's an ongoing practice where we move through these things. And I think that last paragraph right after what you were reading really kind of continues that point. The emphasis of this course always remains the same. It is at this moment that complete salvation is offered you, and it is at this moment that you can accept it. This is still your one responsibility. So we just come back into the moment. We come back into the moment. What are we noticing in this moment? Maybe it's anger, maybe it's bitterness, maybe it's peace. But if it's something that's not peace or harmony, then we allow that to be seen. We allow it to move through, and then we allow it to be undone. And that's our journey towards coming to know that peace is our truth. You know, a lot of times as we start our spiritual paths, we hear these ideas. Oh, your truth is peace. It sounds so sort of like highfalutin. It's like, well, what does that have to do with, you know, the crushing burden of debt that I have, or this feeling of being stuck, or these challenging people that I need to interact with? You know, these are nice words, but they don't really help. And what we start to get is actually this is the deepest help. This statement, this knowing this truth, is the thing that will transform your life. And it will help you to move through every circumstance in your life with a sense of love, a sense of kindness, a sense of generosity, even in the face of circumstances that may be not good or adverse. And as we do that, then we start to move into a different way of being with those challenges, as well as being with the things that are supporting us and feel good.
That is true. And another aspect of all this that is worth at least a moment's recognition is that if you are going back and looking at past lives and trying to create a timeline, you're unraveling one thread in this huge, huge cosmic tapestry. But that's not a bad thing, because eventually you begin to realize that this thread goes all the way back to the fact that it all started with one. And so if you're open to that realization that you and everybody else that exists in this illusion that we're inhabiting all came out of that same source, and all ultimately will be restored to that oneness, that one child of God, that one thought that God has of itself, that is in that state of eternality. That is going to be immensely helpful. So it really is very much conditional on how far you're willing to go. If you want to get stuck in, that incarnation where you were Marie Antoinette and uttered those fatal words, "Let them eat cake," then
I knew I shouldn't have said that.
yeah, I was going to mention that, Barrett. That was a bad call on your behalf. But nonetheless, once we get past the imagined glamour of a specific incarnation or a specific lineage, then it can take us back to that recognition that ultimately the only way that we're ever going to be able to make any of this work is to stop attacking each other and to realize that there's only one of us here.
I'm not going to say anything to that since there's only one of you. I'm just going to sit here quietly.
Well, myself is yourself. It's like the Toltec and some of the other tribes down in Mexico and South America. When two people would encounter each other on a pathway, they had a greeting that basically translated into "I am another yourself," and it was a way of recognizing and honoring that oneness. So that idea is not unique to Christianity or A Course in Miracles. It, as you go looking around the planet, you'll find that theme shows up in virtually every culture and absolutely in every major religious vision that has been shared with humanity.
Yeah, I like that. I am yourself. Is that what you said?
I am another yourself.
I am another yourself. Cool.
Yes, and that's the way it works. We are all one. And so, when you want to throw your TV dinner tray across a room as Donald Trump is uttering something on television, just stop and draw back and finish your meal and relax and just say to yourself, here I am in a less pleasant version of myself, but I still love myself.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. It's a challenge sometimes, but it's a challenge that's worth doing because the benefits are not for Trump when we change from anger to kindness. The benefit is for us, which, as you said, basically is for Trump because it's for everybody because we are all one. But our experience can really change when we shift to kindness. And that's why they call it a spiritual practice, because this is something that takes practice. Maybe in the past you would throw your TV dinner at the TV like once a week, and now you only do it once a month. So hey, that's progress.
Yes, unfortunately, the dog is not happy about that because, Fido was having a good time cleaning up the after effects of your ire.
Oh my gosh, this has been a really good talk today. I don't know, I've been having a lot of fun with this. Yeah, so Chris and I are planning more in-person events, probably sometime in May, and we'll let you guys know about what's coming down the pipe with that. I did mention about debt earlier, and I wanted to share about my debt. I've been going through some financial debt, and I actually kind of felt the need to share about it with people, and I guess I'm feeling the need to share it on this video too. Basically, my goal is to let go of all shame, and by talking about it and by being open about it, I'm working on achieving that as well as eliminating the debt. So if this speaks to you in some way, and you'd like to kind of connect with me around this, I actually am doing an Indiegogo campaign. And one way you can connect to that is to go to Indiegogo, which is IDIEGOGO.com. And in the search bar at the very top, you can just type in my name, Barrett Hedeen, B-A-R-R-E-T. Hedeen is Hedeen. And the campaign will come up at the top of the list. You can click on it and see more about that. Yeah, there are bonuses if you feel called to give. Details about that there, but they include my books, seats, and even healing sessions with me. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there and spread the word about it.
Absolutely, that's awesome. And it's interesting, we live in an era when things like this are made available to us to resolve things by being transparent and making ourselves available to that power of truth that flows through all of us. So it is important that we support each other and that we share our gifts with each other. And ultimately, we are our brother's keeper. And if we have forgotten that, then shame on us.
Oh, well, I appreciate everyone who's given so far. And I know that that the giving is like a circle. As the Course says, giving and receiving are one in truth. And you know, other times I was in a position to give, and I have, and I think that's I don't know. It's just a way that the energy kind of keeps flowing, and like you said, it's really a way that we get to know that oneness. Of course, there's no pressure or obligation, but only if it calls to you. So yeah, just thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone. I don't know, I'm just very grateful, as usual, for these opportunities to share. So, yeah.
Well, and as you said, we will be having an event in May, and there are a lot of other activities that are, you know, in process right now. You've got some things, Barrett, right, coming up, some other events. And
yeah, I'm also going to be at a Course in Miracles conference in Las Vegas. For those of you who are going to be there, feel free to come up to me and say hello or introduce yourself. I'm always glad to connect with more people. And then I'm also doing some chakra classes the end of April and through May in the northern burbs here in the Chicago area. And I have plans to put together a webinar for people who are not in the area and want to connect with me as well. So if you want to know about these things when they happen, you can visit my website, which is barretthedeen.com, BARRETHEDEEN.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter, and then you'll be in the know when these events happen. So yeah, all kinds of good things happening.
yes, spring is unfolding. Life is being restored to the Chicago region, and we will have the expectation of seeing all of you good people in 1 week.
Sounds good. I look forward to it. Yeah, so we'll see you guys soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, Chris.
And